Snarge.
Totally snarge. Snarged it.
We have a very panicked shrimp passing by.
He just blew his mind.
Is it a
Snarge.
club shrimp? Yes.
Is that a species or?
Yes, certain shrimp actually have a club.
Oh.
Oh, the Paltherian right there.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Look up the club shrimp.
Oh, you mean like the mantis shrimp? Where they have the clubs? I
Yes,
don't.
We
they
saw
have
mantis
a,
Oh,
shrimp on
yeah,
the
yeah.
last
They have a
cruise.
There's
club.
club, there's spears.
Yeah,
We saw
yeah.
mantis shrimp on the last
Where's
cruise.
the claws?
You did?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Don't think it's one of those, because normally mantis shrimp are benthic,
No, I didn't
so
see
they're
it.
closer to the bottom.
Collective we. Yeah, one of the watches saw a mantis shrimp.
They're
ROV.
also slightly terrifying.
So, one watch, one mantis shrimp.
The
They
ROV
can break
team I
through
coached.
glass
One
and
tree.
cut off, or at least seriously damage fingers. They also see like a pretty wide spectrum beyond like what we consider visible light.
But can we eat them?
Yes, actually, they're
Yeah.
very popular for sushi in Japan.
Excellent.
They create those cavitation bubbles. Right at the
Yeah,
end.
they create like vacuums as they hit, and their eyes are also really interesting because if you look at images of them, they have these like these stripes across them where they're in focus. So they'll actually rotate one of their eyes 90 degrees, so they have this
What?
one area right in the center where they're able to focus really well on.
Cool.
I think they have the most complex eyes in the natural
Yeah,
world.
I think because human eyes have like 4 rods and cones, and they have like 16 or something.
Yeah, some
It's-
otherworldly amount.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They were so popular with my students that our ROV team, we were the Lee County Middle School West mantis shrimp.
Aw, nice.
Aren't
We had
shrimp
T-shirts
the,
and everything.
Aren't shrimp the dental hygienists of the sea?
Yes.
I've read stories
Some
where
of them, yeah.
eels
Um,
and so forth line up to have their teeth cleaned.
Yeah, they'll create like cleaner stations and build symbiotic relationships. I think there are also some. Actually, I'm not sure. I might be thinking of the cleaner fish, but sometimes other species will look similar to those beneficial, helpful animals, and in reality, they'll take like little nips of like the gills or tissues of fish. They disguise themselves as these helpers when in reality they're parasites.
There's a lot of those people in the world.
I was just going to say, sound like a counselor.
The monarch and the viceroy, but viceroy
Yeah.
isn't
I
parasitic.
found it.
All right. Correction, humans only have 3 photoreceptor cells, and mantis shrimp have 12 to 16.
Wow.
They
Or
put us to
types.
shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
can
we
they
can
drive?
eat them.
We win. They're,
That's right.
they're considered a pretty big nuisance in the pet trade because once, if you get one in some live rock, you might start to see that your fish disappear.
Oh, wait, have you ever heard of the bobbit worm?
Yes.
For those of us who have not,
Okay, it's...
do tell.
See, now you're getting me excited about biology.
Tell us.
There's a really great video online explaining it, but the bobbit worm it's this like large worm with these huge like pincers, and it has this very strong bite. Basically, it can completely just demolish fish that pass by.
When you say huge, is it like as big as me?
I
or
think like, no, not as big as you. Let me look up their actual size. But they'll like stand up out of the sediment waiting for animals to pass by. And so like, once you get one of these in your tank, things just start going downhill
I
really
think
fast.
I think I've seen that on Blue Planet. I think I saw
Yeah.
what those things are. That's great. Yeah, they like
it was
hide.
on Blue
I
Planet.
don't
yeah.
remember
Super
if they're venomous
camouflage
or
and
not.
it's-
But yeah, like here's a couple pictures of them.
Ew.
The feeling
Yeah,
that
they're
Peyton
real
is
big.
just going to explode.
Oh,
on
I
this
know. I
Oh,
can't
right.
wait. I hope we're on the same watch.
Oh man.
You better be on 12
These
or
are
4.
It's
typically
leaking
ranging
out.
from 0.1 centimeters to 300 centimeters long. It's an ambush predator.
It's like nice weather
Yeah, the
out
largest
there.
known specimen was
Is it raining?
290
I was gonna
Oh
say.
yeah, it looks like it.
So that's
Take
like
a peek.
10 feet.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. It's 10 feet?
The largest specimen, because it's 30
Holy
centimeters.
crap.
10 feet? Wait, that's...
That's
Hold
a
on.
long worm.
I'm doing my... I think my math is incorrect. Hold on.
I
'Cause
hope
it's
your math is correct.
299 centimeters.
You just gave Dr. Megan nightmares.
30...
Seriously.
Oh, 30 centimeters is about 3 feet.
So it's 3 feet long. So what I want to know is, can
I
it
think
eat
that's
me?
still 10. Hold
Or
on.
can I eat
'Cause it's
it?
300 divided by...
You could still eat it. However, I'm not sure if it's on many people's menus. But if we find one, $5 to try it.
I
It
just
wouldn't be
read
that bad, would it?
uh,
A little bit of salt?
Yep, still 10 feet. I did do my math right.
Fried green
It's
bobbit
terrifying.
worms.
So it can eat me.
No, it can't. It's still gonna be like thin. It's just I would not want that anywhere near me.
has anyone here read or done any research on Charles Darwin?
Yes.
Heard of him.
Is it true that he was eating most of the species he was finding?
Where did you hear
I have
that?
not heard
Do
that.
just read
do
that
not know
somewhere.
that, actually.
Interesting.
I think he also married his cousin.
Ooh.
Oh, times.
Learned that from my bio teacher.
I think that you should fact check that before
I should.
you say it.
Yeah, his estate could come after you for.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yep, first cousin,
proceed along the
Emma Darwin.
the line. I think right now. I guess it'll be it's slightly north of where we want it to be, but by the time we get going on the line, it'll hopefully come a bit southward. Does that sound about right?
Argus is starting the line now?
No. So the ship is now west, and I'm going to send the ship in this direction.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
it'll tug Argus, but Argus will be slightly north of the line. I was hoping it would come a bit south.
Okay.
But likely what'll happen is once we get going, it'll start to come down here. And
That's absolutely fine. Will you mention to us when Argus is starting the line?
sure.
Thank you.
So when we make these turns, do we kind of whip Argus gently around like one of those skippets from the...
This wasn't.
No, we flip an ollie and
Yeah, I do 360. I'm actually upside down right now.
went to the Tony Hawk School of ROV flying.
Bridge nav.
Got one speed.
Can we proceed to the selected line?
And upside down.
We would like a speed of 1 knot, bearing 080.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
lots of articles about Charles Darwin dining on almost everything he found. Including a NPR story from 2015 called When Scientists Swallow Their Subjects.
Well, the tortoises in that area
Yeah.
took a
Says-
big hit because they could
says here
survive.
he had puma, iguanas, giant tortoises, armadillos. There's a great cartoon that shows all these species fleeing from him.
Does he have a fork and a knife in his hand?
Does he?
He's
And
got a
then
fork in his
napkin
plate.
tucked in?
Oh.
Armadillo is one of the few creatures that can still pass on leprosy.
Ah,
Yeah.
no kidding. That's a good factoid.
Oh.
Tastes like chicken.
And there's an ostrich in this picture, but I like to think that it's a moa, a species I just either recently learned about or somehow rediscovered at the museum in Auckland.
Yeah, humans wiped those out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Giant, though.
Yes.
Man. Crazy big.
Elephant bird
Yeah.
was around that time too.
They're like 10-foot tall ostrich, I guess is the best way to describe it. Maybe
pretty-
6 to 10 foot.
It's like terrifying. Are they pretty? Ostriches are pretty aggressive, or are they
Yeah.
territorial? And like, yeah.
They can be.
You never see videos of people cuddling up with them.
Yeah.
It always seems like they're running from an ostrich that's attacking them.
There was the
Very
man that was in
intimidating.
the news this past month.
Florida
who had
man.
had his
All right.
he had a
My people.
cassowary, and it killed him.
At a what? He had a what?
A cassowary.
What is that?
So think of it kind of like an emu, but it's the one that has that kind of hard shell crest
Okay.
on its head. And they are
Oh man.
known for, unfortunately, being able to disembowel people
Oh my
with their
goodness.
legs.
Ah.
Yeah, not friendly.
I searched this up and there's a video called "This Cassowary Can Kill You."
That's a fast search.
Their coloration is really interesting. Their heads are like blue and then it transitions to like this bright orange.
Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and mark this one.
Target
Sure.
54?
65 off 2 port.
54.
It is 70.
Okay.
70 to port.
7
Well,
feet. That's
between
it.
60 to 70.
Oh, 70.
Were the lines on it something that got your attention?
Yeah,
the
it's pretty much,
striations?
it's pretty much the lineage. But then also, there's this really neat,
Kind of looks like a
I
little
see
boat
the
right in
letter
the middle.
CIDE in there or something like that. It's just, it has a weird thing going on down at the side with some weird shadows. But it, you know, now it's part of this line of, like
Similar.
a really long line of stuff that looks the same. So probably not, but just thought it was interesting.
Hard to know. So, Peyton, when you were in school up till now, did they offer a class or a block somewhere on search queries, terms, Boolean searches, and research techniques at all?
I did a little bit for some English class, or for my English class. I had one on,
Sorry, can
yeah,
I-
let me check the pin number.
It's going to
really
answer
quick.
in 1 second.
Yeah,
We did one on Boolean searches in high school.
cool.
We just,
Thank
the
you,
librarian
Peyton.
took us in,
Yeah.
taught us about them. No classes though.
It wasn't a specific entire class, but we did cover it briefly.
Seems like that's so important. Now, Lonnie, I'm sure you've seen the tools you need to be a good researcher evolve over time.
Yes, the internet.
Are
A
you-
lot of the things that we struggled to find in the past are now on the internet.
But knowing how to find it.
Yes, and also a lot of the archives have digitized their documents, so you can start right at home.
Should I call this striations with interesting? All right.
So at this rate, we will have most of the day before we potentially finish. Most of the next 24 hours.
That's probably accurate. Nav probably has a better feel of it than video does. I don't think you can do math on it. I think it all depends. Especially as we get to the eastern portion of the search block, because it seemed like there was a little more terrain there to dance around. I don't know if there is this far north.
Data, if you want to note that we are Argus has changed its heading from 270 to 080.
Roger. And just to confirm, from 270 to 280?
080.
080, thank you.
Yeah, so essentially we just did a 180-degree flip. So stuff will be weird in the sonar in this moment.
Roger that.
Like that weird image on the left.
Yeah.
That might like Mayan hieroglyphics.
That's a big bobbit worm.
Yeah, actually.
Hello, Spain. Thank you for joining us. So for all our viewers and international folks and people who've just joined us, we are continuing on mapping our northern section of our search area. We have about 5 passes left over this 2-mile search area. If you are just joining us and you notice that the dive looks a bit different than what you're used to seeing, it's because you are seeing just Argus and you're not seeing Hercules. Hercules is not in the water right now, and it's because we are using Argus as a tow fish to create a side scan sonar map of our search area for the search for the Samoan Clipper. If you are looking and seeing Argus's camera, and that is in the channel 2, you are actually looking in the nadir, which is the area directly beneath Argus that is not picked up on the side scan. Argus is about 15 or so meters off of the bottom, and we're...
Affirmative.
Well, I got it right.
Nailed it.
Thank you. And we're 3,200 meters.
3350.
3,350. Wow.
Yeah, this northern section is
It's deep.
It's been downslope towards the north. So
I have a really good feeling about this line, guys.
great feeling about the line.
I
Holds
do.
ya.
It looks right.
We've already had some promising targets.
I
right off
love
the bat.
purple, so there's a lot of that on the screen. It all looks good from here.
So we're still looking for the Samoan Clipper. We have the primary researcher here, Lonnie, with us, and she was responsible for sifting through the archives. I believe, Lonnie, you said you had about 9 days to actually go through it, about 5 years ago?
It was a quick deadline. Russ asked me in May 2014 if I would take on the research project because he had a white paper due at the end of the month, a proposal, and when I calculated how many days I had to do the project, minus weekends and Memorial Day weekend, it was 9 days, so it was a concentrated project. I would say these projects consist of paper, people, and patience / perseverance.
I love your alliteration. So the Samoan Clipper has not been seen for 81 years, and maybe if summer's feeling is right, maybe we'll set eyes on it for the first time on this path. There was purple.
Or at least set side scan on it.
We'll take either.
Either works.
The camera view that you're seeing directly underneath Argus isn't particularly wide of a range. It's about 20 or so meters roughly. So the side scans are covering just about 120 140 meters on either side of Argus. If you're looking at the quad view or channel 1, you are seeing two of the same images. The yellow line to the top is a shorter range but slightly more high definition frequency, while the blue underneath it is the inverse of that. It goes a little bit further but doesn't necessarily give you the same detail. Lonnie, do you mind giving us the timeline for that fateful day, January 11th, 1938?
I'd love to do that. Give me a second here.
No problem. So the Samoan Clipper was on its third trip from across the Pacific.
I wonder if we've been paying attention, if we could do the timeline.
Yes, let's see if you
Tell
can.
Lonnie
We've been over it so many times.
So the float plane left the base at 5:50 in the morning.
No, 5:32.
5:32.
5:32.
I flew for an hour.
Well, it took off 5 minutes later, 5:37.
Okay. And
How long until they noticed an oil leak in engine number 4?
An hour.
No, a half.
No,
It's
it was a
6:08,
half
so
hour,
about
it's
half
like
hour.
Half hour.
Yeah. But the radio communications were a little bit delayed from when they dealt with everything until he had the guy compose a message and get it out.
Exactly.
And he requested a return due to mechanical failure, or I forgot the acronym.
Oh no, that was to send out a knowledge of delay due to it's like DMA
Like electrical.
Yeah,
no,
it's
mechanical
called
issue or
an
something.
It's called an REM that he wanted to send out, returning account of mechanical trouble,
But
advising
the station master,
He didn't do it because he was going to wait until he landed.
he wanted to wait till he
exactly.
landed.
You guys have been
Yep,
listening.
that's true.
So then he
And
was
He
searching.
was going to come back, and he said he had a radio transmission where he said he was going to be dumping fuel.
At 6:37, he
Yep.
reported that there was an oil leak in the right outboard engine and he was going to return to Pongo Pongo.
And he flew around Apia because he'd always wanted to explore some potential emergency landing spots while he was dumping fuel.
Well, they weren't
That's
transmitting
true, that was
then.
a little later.
A little later, okay. I'm jumping ahead.
At almost 7, 6:56, the plane was seen over Pongo Pongo. It wasn't transmitting because they were dumping fuel.
And then the eyewitness said what they thought at the time was smoke, but was actually
Well, that's a little later.
a little later, okay.
At 7:35, which is 2 hours after takeoff, he was seen back in the vicinity of Tutuila near Fagasa Bay.
Right.
And how far from Pongo Pongo to Tutuila?
Like driving? Or just as a crow flies?
Yeah, as the crow flies. Is that kind of a hop and a skip, or is that more of a jump? Not knowing my
Maybe,
Samoan geography.
4 miles,
Where did
I'm
that
not sure. Something like that.
You said 4 miles or 40?
Well, no,
Sorry,
4.
what's
4.
the?
No, I'm just
I can
thinking-
measure it.
Okay.
What is the question? From Fagasa Bay to
So
Pongo
Tutuila to Pongo Pongo, or Fagasa?
Say, let's try it from Fagasa Bay back to Pongo Pongo.
I'm gonna do this on the other screen because I actually need
That's
this
not
one.
in here, but
I
he was
currently
seen back
need
in the
this.
vicinity of Tutuila near Fagasa Bay.
Would he still
That's
have been...
7.
Data, you can log
7:35.
that the ship has started the line. Argus
Alright.
has not yet, but we are at the right bearing.
Line 16?
16, roger.
Lonnie, would he still have been traveling at that cruising speed, or do you slow down to dump fuel? Is that...
Oh, I think you slow down because you're trying to fly around in circles.
Yeah.
You don't want to go somewhere. You want to stay in the vicinity. So at 7:42, he advised the ground station that he was dumping. They turned off the radio. At 7:59, when the radio resumed, the plane was seen over Apia in western Samoa.
Ooh.
And he was scouting that area for a future landing site.
And according to the manual from the aircraft manual, the pilot's operating handbook, with only 3 working engines, with the amount of fuel he had dumped, he was still 382 pounds overweight for landing.
He was actually 372 pounds below the
Below.
maximum
Oh, below.
authorized
Okay.
to land with 3 engines. But
Getting
his
there.
landing site in that small boot-shaped bay was so tight
It was like
and steep that he
Pirate
had to
said it
dump
was like
more.
flying into a well.
Yes, he described it as trying to land in a well.
Into
He had
Pongo
to
Pongo?
skim
Yeah.
over an 800-foot small mountain and then immediately dive to the water. And it left everybody white-knuckled in the plane.
So Pongo Pongo
Extremely.
to Fagasso Bay, as the crow flies, is 1.5 nautical miles.
1.5.
Oh, that's not
Okay.
far.
At 8:27 a.m., the last comma was logged. He was still dumping fuel, and at 8:35, all contact was lost.
So, do you offhand happen to know roughly what the stall speed for that aircraft is?
Yes.
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah,
85.
Let's have some guesses.
85 knots?
90. Say 90.
Okay.
Final answer.
104.
I think it's going to be lower.
105.
Oh.
Wait, are we
You
talking
prices
flaps?
righted
You
me.
looking it up? You looking it up?
They had flaps.
No.
That's one of the things that they think maybe a spark did.
One
was the
knot.
flaps were down.
75.
So is stall speed rated on use of flaps or not? Doesn't matter.
No, stall speeds without flaps.
Okay.
Yeah, stall speed, you're going in.
Yeah.
But I'm betting he was slow. He was. There's no reason to have the throttles to the firewall when you're just trying to dump fuel.
No, you're,
So
you're
he's backed
slowly
way
going in a
off.
circle, trying not to
Yeah.
get too far from land.
Yeah.
Just throw a number out it. Don't overanalyze it.
85.
85? That's a good
Seems
number.
high to me. I think this thing was. You
Wow.
think it was
It's a
that
pretty
heavy?
bi-
it's a
Oh, and they
pretty
had all
big
that
plane.
fuel.
Well, we're
They
just going
had-
by the standard operate.
yeah.
This, the
Yeah.
standard plane. What's its stall speed?
It was 2,300 gallons of fuel they started with,
Yes,
and then 751 pounds of cargo.
yes.
So I mean, it's 118 feet
heavy.
2 inches wide, wingspan, half a ton each engine. They're pretty
15 feet wide.
heavy.
Yeah. I don't-
Sokotoa.
Well,
Let's stick with 85.
I've got all the
think-
different speeds: cruising speed,
All
high
right.
speed.
Lay it on us,
land-
Lonnie.
But its landing speed is 65.
Yeah,
and there is
see?
no
That's with
stall
flaps.
There's no
speed.
stall speed.
There's no stall
Well, that's
speed.
different. Stall
Huh.
speeds are
Landing,
different.
Landing
speed
speed.
is different.
Landing speeds with flaps, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's
What
when
do you
you're
think their flaps went to?
60 degrees?
60?
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow. I thought 40 was a lot.
I could be 40. I don't know. I'm
Huh.
just throwing that number out there also.
Isn't it 172, 40?
15. Yeah. Yeah. What is the cruise speed of it? Give us all the speeds,
It
Lonnie.
was
You got time.
168, I want to say.
All the speeds.
High speed at 7,000 feet is 188 miles per hour.
Miles per hour.
Cruising speed at 7,000 feet is
So when-
163 miles
Oh,
per
it's
hour.
off.
High speed at sea level, 177 miles per hour. Cruising speed at sea level, 155 miles per hour. Landing speed, 65 miles per hour. Do you remember the takeoff time
Oh,
from DEDCOM?
30
seconds.
35 seconds. 35.
35 seconds.
Oh.
ah,
Yep.
gold start of summer.
All right.
That's a long time.
Well, it's
Initial rate
heavy,
of climb,
though.
we never did an initial rate of climb.
And they took out of the bay. They weren't trying to take off
500.
and go up.
500
Over the
feet per
mountain.
minute.
800, that's pretty
800
good,
feet per
summer.
Well,
800 feet a minute.
We
Dang.
can mark that
Powerful
Argus
engines,
has
man.
started the survey.
To get that thing off
Absolutely.
in 30
Mhm.
seconds.
Roger.
35 seconds.
They're Pratt and Whitney
Pratt
engines.
and Whitney Hornet engines.
16 on that.
And then the person who created the propellers also created his own guitar
Wait,
company.
don't-
No, not that.
Nope.
It was Hamilton Standard.
Hamilton Standard.
That, no,
Harvell?
Command Aircraft, Command Aerospace now, it was a competitor of Sikorsky's. Still is.
Sikorsky was the designer of the
Of
aircraft.
right.
And Sikorsky's part of Boeing now, correct?
No.
No, I thought Sikorsky was still its own company. It's still producing Sikorsky aircraft.
Including the helicopters?
Yes.
Helicopter.
Internet.
Where'd you say they were based out of? Virginia or Connecticut? Or something?
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
I think they do some helicopter work in Philly. Yeah, I kind of know that. I think my dad sold them wrote computer programs for them.
I don't know how to.
That's part of Lockheed Martin.
Sikorsky?
Basically.
That's what it appears to be.
Huh.
Our plane was manufactured in Bridgeport, Connecticut in November 1936. And in December 1937, the Department of Commerce granted it authority to operate, be an operator for mail and goods in scheduled service between Honolulu, Kingman Reef, Pongo Pongo, and Auckland.
And they
New
had
Zealand.
to do those routes, otherwise they would have lost it.
Oh yes, the competitors. We were
Was
trying to
there-
establish.
Like a frequency they had to go through, like once a month, or?
Yeah, like. it
Well,
keeps-
they were just establishing it, so that was their route. They were just going back and forth.
We either just came from Kingman or were headed there later on this season, I think.
Kingman?
We were just
Kingman
at
Reef?
Kingman.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah,
just
we
there,
just,
I think. The Nautilus was just there.
Kingman Reef and then
Yeah.
Palmyra Atoll.
Sikorsky's parent organization
Jarvis.
is Lockheed Martin.
Oh, it's Lockheed.
Yep. So this is a question coming in for Dr. Megan. In the previous wrecks, have you, in ones like this that are potentially very deep and potentially also very well preserved, are things such as human remains? A certain audience member would like to know, do those also preserve as well?
So we don't know enough about the preservation of human remains at extreme depths to be able to answer that for absolute certain. There are a lot of sites which show that human remains are absolutely preserved in depths up to 1 to 200 meters, and there are sites that have been excavated. There's a group working, well, actually there's a group in the government called the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency or Administration, one of those, whose government prompted, sponsored deal is to go and search out missing servicemen from each of our conflicts and bring them home, so that obviously they would have to excavate aircraft sites. And there have been human remains found on countless aircraft sites, actually, but always within diving depths. So I don't mean recreational diving depths either, up to 200 meters.
Yeah.
So in terms of extreme depths and human remains, most of the time they follow the same sort of rules as other organic matter, in that it has to be protected in some way. It has to be treated in some way. So I know that I'm sure that there have been remains found in enclosed spaces where it's not subject to current, it's not subject to some of the other deterioration, like deal breakers that we've seen. But to my knowledge, and knowledge is
Power.
limited, well, and power, I don't think that there have been any human remains found on extreme depth sites. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. It's just they haven't been found, so we don't know anything about them.
The Canadian government has done some work with forensic anthropologists at their cabled ocean observatories to put
They put pigs down there.
pig carcasses down at depth sites where there are cameras that record the process, and then they go and they see how long it takes, and then they examine what they recovered. These are still in shallowish waters,
Right.
less than 1,000 meters, if you want to call that shallow. And there's almost nothing left within a matter of days.
Right.
And you can search for Ocean Networks Canada pig decomposition
And
get
that's
all that info.
what I was sort of meaning, though. Yeah, if you put anything out just on the ocean floor, ready to be consumed, then it'll be consumed. But if you have an enclosed space, or when I was saying if it's treated or protected in some way, if it's in that enclosed space, or if it's also the reason why we find flight control surfaces is because they've been treated with a doped, like aluminum dope, and it makes it so it's not just the cloth anymore.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was talking about like a whale lives about 75, 80 years, and then when it dies, the carcass will go down to the deep bottom of the sea.
A whale fall.
A whale fall, and then they've like actually went out and studied them. This marine biologist, and like it was washed up on shore, but then they towed it out, and they wanted to see, to study it.
Yeah.
So they put cameras down and everything and analyzed it, and it was like 75 years of like its lifetime, and then it was 75 years of like all the different critters coming out and breaking it down, and to the bacteria like that was eating, like feeding off or living on the bones of it, and so it was just like, it was a crazy life cycle to know that it lived 75 years, and then it provided 75 years of like sustenance for all these different creatures in the sea.
The Ocean Networks Canada, when they put them down, there's always two carcasses, and one of them is open and exposed, and the other has a cage over it.
I like that one.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. It's what, 65 to starboard?
Yep.
Kind of looks like an empty bottle.
Target 55?
No, 65 to starboard.
Target 50.
It
number
is target 55?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So they had one covered and one uncovered, and
yeah, the covered one, it just has a cage over it. It's not much of a cage. I know, because I accidentally drove over it once trying to make the ferry in Sydney. They were able to pound it back into shape. But it prevents the apex predators from.
Oh, you're being
consuming the
serious?
entire- Yeah.
I thought you were
Do you
joking
have a
that you
description
ran
you want
it
for this
Oh
one?
no, I did drive over it.
Somebody said
It's very angular.
it's like a
Went to get out of the yard,
bottle.
and the ROV was
Also note that it had
coming
two
in, and
really
need to
nice
get going,
circular
so.
rocks directly below it. Sorry, circular shapes.
It's great fun trying to figure out how to rig your pig on the front of your ROV for deployment.
If I had a
1,000
nickel.
well, the funny part was there's completely unrelated. You were just working with them. There's these sensors that are frequently autonomous that measure temperature at hydrothermal
The
vents,
pig things.
typically made by a guy named Marv Lilly. And they're called pigs because they kind of look like that. They're a cylinder with 4 stainless steel legs. And so I deployed bunches and bunches and bunches of those, and it would always show up on the dive plans, deploy, 3 pigs or whatever. And you take these instruments down, put them wherever, do that. And so I go out for the first time on this one mission, and it says we're deploying 2 pigs. And I was like, oh, okay, I've done that before. And they come out with this wheelbarrow with 2 ginormous dead pigs.
What is this instrument?
And I was like, that's...
At least they're frozen pigs.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's 2 forensic anthropologists who come out for that deployment.
Are they still
And
doing that every year?
They seem to be, and unfortunately, we don't really interact with them enough, so don't really have a lot of information.
So for our viewer who just asked a question about targets from last night and what they turned out to be, short answer to that is we have no idea, because we've just been continuing to go back and forth, and we haven't gone back and really revisited some of the dive sites, or excuse me, some of the potential targets. We did briefly pass by some of them as we worked our way towards the northern section of the search area, but we haven't laid visuals on any of those, and we won't until after we finish our search area, which is going to take us probably about most of the next day or so, next 24 hours. And then the science team will clean up some of the images from the side scan sonar map and have a conversation about what areas they think and they would like us to investigate next.
Be nice to get vehicles on the surface for just a little bit, for nothing else, and then to do the work in here we need to do.
Yeah. So USBL, we have a question about what that acronym is, and
Oh, come on, guess.
I know, I forgot.
Oh.
Short band, universal short band.
Ultra short baseline
Oh,
sonar. Ultra short baseline acoustic positioning.
and that's what's providing us our location on channel 3. And the interference is what has kind of caused it to jump all over that map.
Yeah, some of it is just a function of depth. I mean, it's not going to be as accurate the deeper and deeper you go.
Mm-hmm.
But
Flashlight on a wall.
yeah, but we have some sound from our bow thruster that interferes with it a bit. It's actually, once we get going in a straight line, it's not too bad. It's a pretty straight line. So
Nice.
it's just a bit confusing because we did a bit of a loop turn there.
How fast are you pinging it, Benny? How many times?
3 seconds.
Once every 3 seconds?
Yep.
It's pretty good for this depth.
Yeah, it's because we can talk to it directly.
It's in responder mode.
Yeah. This is probably all of these targets down here. The thing that we're seeing on the screen is probably corresponds with these. And the ultra short baseline refers to how close the transceivers are to each other. They're pretty much right next to each other.
And there's 4 of them.
Yes. It's at least 3. I believe there's 4. I think there's 4.
Yeah, 4.
So how the question comes in for how they clean up those images. There is a software that they have that will take some of the distortion that you see, as well as some of the other components that make this side scan a little bit more difficult to read and kind of alleviate some of that. Some of the larger objects that you see, just because it's a large object doesn't mean it's a wreck. There's quite a few geologic features and large boulders and rocks down here that are pretty significant. There's ridge lines of sediment, quite a few different things that we see and have seen that show up on the sonar. Argus is about 15 or so meters off the bottom. Chris in St. Louis, thanks for tuning in. In terms of how it maintains that depth, we have our Argus pilot, Summer, and she's excellent at making sure that we don't run into things. And jazz hands.
She's also just pilot Summer, too.
Nice.
Summer, what's your normal tail number?
November 642 Juliet Foxtrot.
Juliet Foxtrot.
JF.
If you have your normal pilot's license, does that mean you also, does that extend into having like a drone pilot's license as well?
Negative,
That's
but
a
I
separate
do have my
process.
drone's license. You have, so it's an UAS?
Part 107B?
Unmanned, autonomous.
I think the
are
biggest
you-
hurdle to the drone pilot license is being able to read the charts. And
Yeah,
you
so
already have that.
yeah,
with
so
your
if you've got a pilot's license, you can just take a test online through the FAA, because you know, like you've obviously gone through all the airspace and
Right.
how you know the basics of flight. So I just got mine pretty easily. But if you're not a pilot, you can just study, but you have to schedule an exam at an FAA certified place and take the test there. And
Scott?
it quizzes you on
Scott's a
Yeah.
drone pilot.
airspace and you know stuff like that, because obviously that's a big thing right now is drones going up in certain airspaces. But I think a lot of the drone manufacturers now are actually, like with the GPS, are kind of regulating themselves so they won't even
Geofencing.
take off
Yep.
in
DJI has quite a bit of that.
spaces. Yeah, so and their drones are amazing. Those for $1,200 you can get those Mavic. I've used the Mavic Pros, and the footage is, the gimbal and the camera is excellent. The footage is really amazing. The battery life's awesome. I did a whole survey of like an oil platform in the Bahamas, and it was 20 knots of wind, and I got awesome footage, really stable with those conditions, and tons of battery life. So they're not a sponsor, but
Yeah.
Ding.
should be.
I have an Air.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one?
I think
That's the
Anthony's
smaller-
coming out
the-
with a Mavic Air.
Which
My
is the-
intern.
Yeah,
What's the Air?
it's the smaller
It's
one?
the fold
The
up,
selfie
lightweight.
one?
No, it's
Is it a DJI?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
DJI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't looked at their products in a while.
it's just the step below the Pro.
Okay.
It's more portable for travel. I was worried it was going to get stuck at customs going through, so I
Huh.
didn't.
Do
I
you have a
couldn't.
car?
I don't have a license
No.
yet. But they just changed the rules that even if you're a hobbyist, soon
Yeah, they're
you're
getting
going to
really
have to take a
strict on it.
test.
Yeah, they're getting really strict on it. And I think you have to like register them now, put the
Yep.
serial numbers in, and put markings on the actual
Yeah, I
Yep.
think you're right.
aircraft.
Yeah, I have to have my FAA number
Yeah.
on each one of the batteries on the drone, and then on the drone itself, and then you have to have your registration with you.
Yeah, I mean, I got it for commercial reasons, so like I could get hired and paid since I have my license, but I guess they're just making hobbyists do it just for safety, because maybe it's a different test, unless maybe it is to certify everybody.
It's just it's
To-
a different test. It's not, you don't get your license.
Oh,
but
okay, it's just like
it seems
to
like
just
you may as well just
pass.
get your license.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Might as well if it doesn't cost a bunch extra.
Yeah.
Because I think the chart part is probably what people find
Yeah.
That
more
is the part I
challenging.
need to learn.
They have some really awesome though, like apps for it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sure.
these days they're like, it's just like, you could just type some stuff in and the thing flies itself. Like I did some photo mosaic of like an area near my house, and like it'll like do what we're basically doing is like mow the lawn, like do
Yep.
the
Yeah.
plan lines, and then it'll stitch together, like it'll like go, and then the camera will like, you know, change angles at different,
Yeah.
it'll stop and change
Yeah,
angles,
yeah.
take photos.
Like waypoints.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then it's all, GPS referenced, and then you download it into your computer, and it'll stitch it together, and you've got like a 3D rendered photogrammetry of whatever.
Yeah, a former
It's
colleague of
pretty
mine
awesome.
does that for areas where they're going to build big condo buildings or whatever. And they
Yeah.
want to sell these units and sell them based on the view. So he gives them accurate, I think he's doing photos mostly, but it could be video, from like, here's what your balcony view looks exactly like. So he's got the plans for the building, he's got GPS
So he goes to the height that the balcony would be at.
for each unit.
That's a great business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
I never
awesome.
would have thought of that.
Boring to me, but it's a good business.
That's cool though. To fly a drone all day, make people smile. It's not to love.
And you can operate the drone from your phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're a hobbyist as long as you don't do it in furtherance of a business.
And creep in people's windows.
Yep.
The thing I think of every time I see beautiful drone footage of just some amazing scenery or whatever, when I look at that, what's going through my head is, me.
Yeah, they are very loud.
It's just obnoxious.
It's cool though, seeing like aerial shots and like over the ocean with like whales breaching and
As
stuff.
well as wedding photographers flying them into the couple.
Oh. They'll stitch together videos for you, but I live on a golf course.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a great place to fly.
We have lots of alligators, and I always
Oh yeah.
get some sweet
cool.
alligator footage.
Sweet alligator
Sweet
footage.
alligator footage. There's at least one in every pond. Some of them are 4 to 5 to 6 feet, and they don't remove them, or the city won't take them out until they're over 6 feet.
Really?
Just watching
They
one
eat golf
special.
balls, right?
They're using drones to get whale DNA.
Oh yeah, that was
Fly right
on
in.
Nat
Whale.
Geo Live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Describe that process.
So they follow the whale when he breathes.
Exhales.
When he
The
exhales.
spout. They have the drone in the spout. It collects DNA from the whale.
Basically,
What?
Whale snot?
snots all over
Yeah.
the drone. And
Excellent.
That's all it is?
yeah,
It's not
They were like going
specifically
down
on
to
the
like
drone.
pricking like a piece of.
There's a medium that is on the
it's got
drone
a
to
little
capture
plate
it.
there, but it's still,
Yeah.
you see
Basically
the video of it,
whale.
the camera goes,
Oh
splat.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, mission successful. Come back to the boat.
That's got to be a fun job also. Fly around drone all
Not
day. with the
not
whales.
drone related,
Ah.
but they do also have dogs that sniff out like orca poop on the water, because they also sample that to learn about how orcas are eating and their nutrition.
Not a fun
Did
job.
you see it? The
Don't
I
love
think
that
it's the J-pod. They just found them.
Oh,
The new species.
No, this is a pod of orcas in the Salish Sea that have been not seen for a while.
yeah, we've got
Not
pop back
K-pop
up.
band. J-pod.
J, K, and L pods. So it's 3 different pods plus transient orcas, which basically move up and down the coast, and all of them like eat. Well, the resident orcas, so J, K, and L, eat salmon, while the transient orcas mostly eat marine mammals, so like seals.
They do some studies up in the Arctic Circle, and they can actually take the fur off of polar bears and figure out what they've been eating as well.
Ooh.
That's playing with
Boy,
fire.
that polar bear's got to be pretty cooperative for that to happen.
Yeah,
They have a vestigial tooth they also take out. And a few other things they do.
Wow.
But yeah, they
do they tranquilize? Wait, what?
they
is it?
trank them.
They
Yeah.
tranquilize
Yeah.
them just for a little bit.
Yeah, they're studying to see if the shrinking in sea ice is causing the polar bears to actually shrink physically in size as a species
They
as well.
change
To
their
survive,
diet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, I
This is,
bet.
Is that town in Russia where they're just getting overrun with polar bears? Polar bears are coming in to ransacking the garbage dumps now.
Oh wow,
Nothing
that's
else to eat.
scary.
The residents can't even go outside during the day. It's like
That's what a lot of the
20 to
village
30 polar days.
public safety
Ooh.
officers in Alaska do is watch out for polar bears.
Hmm.
There's a town in Norway where a town is on the migratory route, so during that time of year, all the kids have to stay in school.
Yeah,
Can't go
I don't
out.
blame
Can't
'em.
go outside.
Yeah, when we were working up in the Arctic, which I mentioned a few watches ago, we had to have bear guards out on snow machines so we could do our science without having to look up for bears. They
That
basically
is
just patrolled
crazy.
the perimeter with the shotgun.
Thank you for calling them snow machines too.
Yeah. Depends on where you are.
Yeah, I
What the-
know. The other term just drives Alaskans batty though.
Yeah, Alaskans don't like it, but maybe Canadians call it something else. Not a snowmobile either. They call it
Snow ski?
maybe.
Ski-Doo.
Yeah, maybe
Or a cat.
something like that.
And you have to put on your Ski-Doo suit
And your bunny boots.
and your bunny boots.
The white.
I don't think people know about bunny boots.
They're like white
And of course your toque.
military issued boots,
I have a great toque.
insulated rubber boots.
Bunny boots are vacuum insulated, right? Or air pressure insulated? Is that what?
Can't recall. I just know one of them. There's a release valve if you
Yeah.
fly. There's bunny boots, and then I think the white ones are rated for colder than the black ones.
Right.
I had the Sorel Glacier boots up
Oh, the
there.
Sorels are good
Yeah,
too.
they were pretty warm.
Wasn't that all aerospace technology? For,
Yeah, I
they
think
called
so.
them moon boots in the beginning.
Well, that was one of the big challenges up on the space program is the temperature gradient's huge. At sunrise, it goes up like 140 degrees or something.
Thanks for that question that just came in. Our search area is about 2 square miles, and we are on the last 25% of it. We're there. The end is in sight within the next 24 hours.
Maybe.
You can
Maybe.
use that term just about, I mean, so we started on the last 100% of it.
We did. There's zeros in there, so.
About halfway through, we were on the last 50%. I just like the term last. It just sounds like you're so
Last.
much closer to being done.
You gotta think of that silver lining. We got 5 more sections or cross sections to do. And then the science team will take a look at the cleaned up images from the software of the side scan sonar map that was made, reevaluate dive targets, and then we will prioritize which ones they think we should investigate first after that.
Yeah, I wonder what order of operations is. I wonder if that activity is going to start when we're done with the survey, because normally you don't want a resource like this to be inactive.
Yeah.
I do know there's a period of time that we have to if we're going to be going to ROV dives, it's going to take a while to transition to that.
But there's also a and/or extend the search area.
Yeah.
Caveat in there.
Yeah.
Dr. Megan, do you know if...
Yeah, so we're processing now.
Okay.
Taking a second look at targets now, have already discussed where we might want to extend the search area and whether or not we want to go and take Argus over targets again for a second pass. In terms of what order that all happens in,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet, but everything is dependent on what we find on these last lines.
Nice. Are you still most interested in the kayak? Or if some others snuck up on you as a favorite?
I think that targets are constantly changing, and I think that 30 and 31 look very intriguing right now. So we'll just have to see.